You also mention how it's not the same thing if Richardson gets back in, if the starter gets hurt. That's the situation that Bryce Young just found himself in last week. So I kind of ask you here is like, what can the NFL do, Jordan, to get quarterbacks who are drafted high and are paid handsomely under their rookie contracts the reps if they're unready to play?
Well, this is going to sound like I'm pitching right now, but this is what I do for a living. That's why I use the word consulting. We do it at the college level with around a dozen guys and a handful of NFL as well. But, last year, Jake Browning came in. I went on your show before he started, and I said, oh, this guy's going to light it up, and I'm not a fortune teller. The writing was on the wall for me. And after about his second or third game of going nuts and throwing for 3-something and not turning it over, a reporter, friend of mine, Jeff Hobson, I think it was from Cincinnati, asked him, man, you've been on practice squad for 2 years. What happened? Like, where's this coming from? And Jake had a great line. He said, I've been in 2 great organizations with 2 great head coaches. And he backed up Kirk Cousins and Joe Burrow. Like he's had examples of how to do things the right way all around him. Right. And he said, I came to the conclusion that the NFL does not provide a personal development plan for me. And so I had to go out and build it. And so honestly, this is what we do. We consult physically, mentally, and emotionally year round. All my clients are on annual retainers. What's crazy about this, I actually had a former MLB general manager in my office yesterday talking about this, is how far behind quarterback development is as a league, how far that is behind pitching in Major League Baseball, hitting in Major League Baseball, and the PGA Tour. And how it's, there's private coaches everywhere and gurus who are experts at what they do, but really somebody who can fuse into the physical, mental, emotional part of it. And then on the physical alone, be able to actually sync and coordinate what happens in the weight room, what happens in the training room, and what happens in the quarterback room. Those 3 departments are typically not synchronized. And so a lot of times, this is going to sound nerdy here, a lot of times when I work with a college program or an NFL team, what I'm really doing is interdepartmental communications consulting. We're 3 departments that currently exist that do not communicate to each other and are not on the same page. And it's not a problem with the Indianapolis Colts. It's actually a systemic problem across all 32 teams. In one way or another, I'm connected to all 32 of them and all the best colleges. Last year, I did my 60th different colleges pro day. And so I see it everywhere, uniquely positioned to have this opinion. And so we absolutely have a development problem when it comes to quarterback. But I'll also say it this way, Rich. I think the most expensive problem in all of sports is that your quarterback sucks. And nothing sets your franchise back farther as an NFL team. And when you think about Joel Klatt, I had a great conversation with Joel Klatt last year about this. When they fired Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M and there was $87 million left on his contract and everyone made a big deal about that, the number's not 87. You got to buy the new guy out of his contract. You got to give him a new contract. He's going to bring in his new coaches, which means you're going to end the contract and pay all the assistants you're firing. That number is closer to 110. And in that time, Texas A&M had several 4- and 5-star prospects go there and play football there. So they didn't have a recruiting problem in that window. They had a developmental problem in that window. And so I see it clear as day. This is what I do all day long at the college and NFL level. It's not a problem. It's a crisis. And that the fan base is so motivated, and gambling and all the things around it, it puts pressure on the decision makers to have to not just hit on the right quarterback, but hit on the right quarterback who can play great early. And every time a CJ Stroud and a Jaden Daniels comes along, it screws it up for everybody else. Not ready that early.
Yeah, no doubt about it. There is a bunch of quarterbacks who get to play who are unready to play in the NFL. And
doesn't mean they're bad. They're just not ready yet. Right. I backed up Gabbard. He was the 10th pick in the draft. They traded to 10 to take Blaine. J.J. Watt was the 11th pick. Okay. And I backed him up early, and it was clear, I'll leave it at, he wasn't ready to play. Physically, he's still one of the best I've seen in person. He just wasn't ready to play. I think he's in his 16th year now. Won a Super Bowl with the Chiefs, won a Super Bowl with the Bucks. He was not the quarterback in that window that Jacksonville needed him to be. And I don't think Jacksonville supported him the way that he needed support at that time. But you want to tell me that he's bad at football with all those Super Bowl rings and all that money? No, I think it's a fantastic career. And so when people are ready, this is a timing thing. When guys are ready and the support around them, it's much more complicated than get him an X receiver and get him a great coordinator. There's a lot more elements to this. And I think I'm starting to churn the soil on conversations at the ownership and front office levels and the AD and head coach levels in college to start to get to see that stop trying to do it the way that school that did it right or that NFL team that did it right. Stop trying to copy that. Start looking at other sports and look what golf and baseball does.
Well, not to have you give the roadmap to make your business less relevant. But why wouldn't the NFL just try and figure something out in their own house, right? I mean, why wouldn't they, as owners, sit down and address the issues that you're pointing out they have? And it's not just that, too. It's the product you sometimes, when it's a quarterback who's been drafted high, who's not ready, taking on a backup that didn't think he was going to play, and the team didn't want him to play yet because he's not ready. And those two quarterbacks face off on a, Thursday night or face off on a Monday night that hasn't been flexed out of or, which ESPN now has the rights to do. You see what I'm saying? Then suddenly that product's out there on the field and your team suffers. Your coaches, I mean, as you mentioned, it's not just an expensive money problem if the quarterback stinks. That's the best way to have somebody get fired. You know what I mean? And so why is there no plan here on that front, Jordan?
I keep hearing the term imperfect science. I hear it at the draft a lot, right? You're always out there. Right? And you go, well, the quarterback, imperfect science. Well, I think my answer to your question is I don't know.
Okay.
But there's another piece, though, that is just completely missing. And this is why I had a former general manager in my office from Major League Baseball, because he did a fantastic job of incorporating data into how they make every decision. When do you pull a pitcher? Based off of the percentage likelihood of an injury, based off of velocity and all that. How do you factor in all that data? I do a lot with data, and a lot of times when I talk to teams, that's the first conversation they've had about something like that. So I work with Wilson. We have a chip on the ball. We measure velocity, spin rate, and spiral efficiency. I talk to a lot of NFL coaches. They don't know what that is. Huh. We throw on force plates, measure the amount of force they're putting into the ground, just like every golfer on tour and every hitter in MLB does. Teams aren't really familiar with that before, especially the quarterback position. What does that have to do with anything? And so I think what teams, that's one of the misses. That's not going to solve everything. But I think teams are so focused on right here, right now, what's next, and everybody's plate's full. And for me, because I'm not a traditional coach, because I control my own schedule and I control my client list and who's in my room, I've had an opportunity to go and spend a bunch of time on that stuff. And teams there's always too many things to do in each day, college or pro, every role in the building. And I don't see enough forward thinking from teams of looking outside the box to see what are all of the problems, what can we solve? And this is what I'm doing now. Who can we bring in to solve the ones that we can't do, whether that's in our building or with the specific set amount of time that we have with the players?
See, I knew you'd be the perfect guest. I said, let's talk to Jordan Palmer. Call 1-800-JORDAN, right?
Yeah. Go to QBSummit.com.
The QBSummit.com. Very good for more information on all of that. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.